Before the playoffs last year, everybody knew they were going for a good team, that they would be in the playoffs every year, but not much more was expected from them besides that. No one saw them as a real threat, no one thought they could beat the Clippers, and no one thought they were real contenders. But 2-3-1 comebacks later and a conference finals appearance, everyone had their eyes on the team, and they now expect them to build on that success. But that might not be possible now. You see, this team lost a lot of key pieces over the offseason, and the front office did a bad job replacing them. And that might put their potential deep playoff run in jeopardy this year. We're going to talk about if it's possible, if they can feel their weaknesses on this team, or if they're just screwed for this year. Ladies and gentlemen, that bell was just a reminder as we prepare for takeoff towards the upcoming video. To strap in your subscribe button and activate your like button for a smooth takeoff. Enjoy your flight with us at Sports. After a great season last year, the Nuggets ended up being the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, and that's very impressive. If we all know, the Western Conference is a very tough conference, and they were lined up to face the Jazz in the first round. And the Jazz were up 3-1 on the Nuggets in the first round, 3-1. And I didn't really see any by slandering the Nuggets or talking much about them. That's what I'm saying. No one really thought that much of the Nuggets. They knew they were good enough to get a home court advantage and everything. But if they would have got beaten 5 games, would people have been clowning them? Some people maybe, but not too much. And they'd be like, okay, well, the Jazz are kind of on the same level. But then they come back and they beat them 4-3, 3-1 comeback. And Jamal Murray and Jokic, they were the main reasons, man. And I think Jokic is the best player on the team, but in the playoffs, I think Jamal Murray might have been the best player, especially that series. I know he was averaging over 30. I don't remember exactly how good he was. I just know he was shooting like god-like percentages, like better percentages than MJ, and he was scoring like MJ in the playoffs. Jamal Murray was on another level in that Jazz series. They came back and Conley almost had the series winner with that 3 at the end, but he missed. And they ended up making it to the second round. Everybody's like, okay, cool. Well, now y'all have to face the Clippers. You might beat the Jazz, but you're screwed now. And then they're down 3-1 to the Clippers. And I think even in Game 5, the Clippers might have been up by like a decent amount. I'm not sure what happened to the Clippers, though. They just collapsed, man, and the Nuggets came back from 3-1 again. Again, Jamal Murray was godlike. Nikola Jokic, he proved he was the best center in the league. He was absolutely amazing. And they made it to the conference finals. They might have got beat by the Lakers, but they proved that they are a real team out there, right? A real team. Well, they lost their 3rd best player in the last season this year, and that's Jeremy Grant. And you see how good Jeremy Grant is. He's their best defender on the team easily, in my opinion. And he was their probably 3rd best scorer, maybe 4th if you consider like Michael Porter Jr. or Will Barton better scorers than him. But he was still a key piece for them, and he's a big reason why. If you remember a couple years ago, their defense was terrible. They were like bottom of the league. They might have the best offense in the league, but their defense was towards the bottom. He helped their defense out tremendously, and they had a top 10 defense last year, if I'm not mistaken. Take him away, and their defense has been absolutely horrendous so far this year, and that's the big reason why they're 6-7, just losing him. You see, just with Jeremy Grant being the first option, he's averaging over 20 points per game, and he always scored very efficiently. I know they did try to keep Grant. They offered him the same contract Pistons did, but he said he'd rather be the first option on the team and take a lot of shots than be on the contender, so he left, and that kind of screwed them over. He wasn't the biggest piece of their team, obviously, because they have Jokic and Murray, but still, that screwed them over. Some other key losses that people weren't talking too much about, Mason Plumlee. Okay, Mason Plumlee was amazing backup center for them because, no, he's not Jokic, but he has some Jokic skills that can carry over to the bench, so it's like flows through the entire game instead of, just Jokic on the floor. And the main thing is just the passing, obviously. He probably learned a lot from Jokic, but he just will be in the post, be at the top of the key, and he's just really good at finding players just like Jokic is. He'll have defenders grab attention, and he can find the open shooter, open cutter, and he did average about 3-4 assists per game last year, if I'm not mistaken. So he was definitely a proven playmaker and just a better scorer than the center they have now. Who they even have is Isaiah Hartenstein. I mean, was doing like 4 points, 3 rebounds a game. I'm pretty sure Plumlee was doing better than that, and I damn sure know he was a more impactful player just from the eye test watching him. Like I said, he was an amazing playmaker. Hartenstein isn't giving you much of that. Mason Plumlee's a better scorer. He's a better defender. Mason Plumlee's no all-star, but he's definitely a quality backup center. And they didn't want to lose him and not have anybody back him up, and they don't have anybody back him up. Another player, Cory and Craig. He was a great 3-and-D player for this team, and he was very good for them off the bench. And I just don't think they have a 3-and-D player off the bench that it was good as him. I think their thinking was they have PJ Dozier, and they're like, oh, well, he's going to be the 3-and-D player for us. And while he has been better this year, he's had a bigger part of the team, shooting very efficiently, averaging like 6 points per game. He's a pretty good defender. I don't think he's as good of a defender as Craig is. Maybe he can get there after a couple years, but if we're talking about this year specifically, I think Cory and Craig's a better defender. They're about the same in 3-point shooting. Craig's a better cutter to the basket, but I feel like PJ Dozier get his shot a little bit better in terms of driving and stuff. But if what it is, they got JaMychal Green hoping to replace Jeremy Grant. I guess they're like, oh, when we have Will Barton coming back, and then we bring in JaMychal Green. And I give JaMychal Green credit. He's been really good this year offensively. I'm not sure about the defense. No, he's always been a decent defender. I haven't watched too much Nuggets game, honestly, but I just know he's been amazing offensively. And then Will Barton, he's cool. He's always going to be pretty efficient, even though he hasn't been this year, so that kind of contradicts my statement, but he's usually efficient. He could be like 15 a night. He's cool. And now they have Gary Harris back, because they didn't have him for most of the season last year. They had him for the playoffs, but so they're like, okay, we have a full team surrounded by us, and they've played Bol a little bit, but I feel like they just need to let him play. Screw Isaiah Hartenstein, man. Just let Bol play and see if he can develop into an actual real player, because I think if he could play small forward through center, depending on what they need at the time in the game, that could be a huge game changer for them, like a big chess piece for them out there whenever they need it. Alright, so with all this said, I know they do have Michael Porter Jr. on the team too, and he's had some good games in the playoffs, and I think he's proved himself to be the permanent starting small forward in this team. He's good enough for me to say that. But I don't know if he's going to be good enough to be that third piece yet. Like, give him 1 or 2 more years, maybe 3. Yeah, of course he's going to be good enough to be the third or second option. He's going to be like a 22 to 25 point per game scorer. But for right now, is he good enough to be that third person on a championship team? I don't know. I got to see more from him. So if he really does come back, what is he going to do to make their offense better? Their offense is already really good, and their defense is still not good at all, and he's not that good of a defender. So it's not really going to improve there. It's just going to move Will Barton to the bench, and Will Barton, make their bench scoring better. But, already if what it is, they already got Monte Morris off the bench. Like I said, JaMychal Green. They don't really need too much help in that department. They're going to get their buckets regardless. But what they need are real defenders. They have Gary Harris. He's a cool defender, yes. Paul Millsap, he's kind of falling off, but he's a decent defender, yes. But they need more defenders, man. They lack. That's what they lack. That's all they need. And I'm starting to think, even though Michael Porter is going to be a monster in the future, he still has a lot to work on. I mean, the defense, the handling, offensive and defensive awareness, just his drive and passion to go 100% all the time in the game. He's a great scorer, but it's all the other aspects of what he really needs to work on. The Nuggets really want to contend now because Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic proved last year they're ready to. So if they want to trade, Michael Porter Jr., put Gary Harris in there for the contract, Bol in there for the potential upside, but that he apparently doesn't mean too much anyways because they don't play him, so why not trade him? If they can package that, maybe a pick or two, they could get a star player. Now, who knows who that could be? I don't even really want to speculate on who that could be. Maybe that'd be another video for another time if I think that could happen. But right now, I think they should just explore the options and who they can maybe add to the team that would be a great defender, but also keep up with the style of being a great offensive team. So they would have to be a great 3-and-D player, preferably. And like I said, I'm not going to speculate who that could be, but I think they do need to make some changes because as it stands right now, their defense is trash and isn't going to improve from the current personnel. But I just have a hard time believing with the current personnel that the Nuggets have any chance of making the conference finals this year, much less the finals. And at some point, yes, they've been good. Let's see. They were really close to making the playoffs for 2 years in a row before they actually did. And then I believe it was the 2019 playoffs, first time they made it as a team of this current team. And they made it to the second round and took the Trailblazers to like 7 games and almost made a conference finals. Then last year they made the conference finals. It's always cool when you're doing better and better every year, but right when your team starts to do worse, everybody starts questioning you. When you go from making the conference finals to second round exits in like 5 games, people are going to look at you different. They're going to be like, oh, okay, well, you need to prove something next year. Then if they have another bad year, people are going to be looking at them even harder. They're starting to look at the Bucks like that. So, if that starts happening, maybe the Jokic is like, I don't know if I want to be in Denver. So they really need to think about that. If Jokic and Jamal Murray, they believe they are ready to compete, they might need a third star with them, because we already know every other team's going with third stars. The Bucks got Drew Holiday with Chris Middleton and Giannis. You already know James Harden with KD and Kyrie. The Lakers, you could count Dennis Schroeder as a third star if you want. I wouldn't, but they got him and Harrell. I think those two combined equal to a star, but you know what I'm saying? They're trying to build star power, and that's what it's always been like for the past decade in the NBA. So if you want to compete, man, get a third star. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, that's all I had time for today. I know it's a little longer video, but I hope y'all enjoyed. Anyways, Desire Sports out. If you want to like and subscribe, I appreciate that.